I want you to take a second and do a quick internal audit right now as you're listening to this.
Yeah, just a quick check-in.
Right. Just check your current emotional state. Like, are you feeling anxious about a deadline?
Or maybe harboring some frustration from your commute.
Exactly. Or, a text you just received that annoyed you. Or, on the flip side, are you feeling generally content, maybe a little joyful, just going about your day?
Just kind of cruising along.
Yeah, just cruising. Well, hold on to that answer because according to the text we're diving into today, your answer to that really simple question dictates whether you are currently residing in heaven or, well, in hell.
It really completely collapses the distance between our daily psychology and these, massive ultimate concepts of existence.
It really does.
It reframes the entire timeline of spiritual consequence, like pulling it away from the distant future and dropping it squarely into your lap right this second.
Which is wild. So today's deep dive is centered on a short but incredibly provocative essay. It's titled Heaven is in the Palm of Our Hands.
Great title, honestly.
It is. It was written by an author named Su Feng in February of 2024, and we are looking at a translation edited by Kinyu. Our mission today is to really unpack this text's central and, frankly, radical claim.
Very radical.
Yeah, the claim that heaven and hell are not postmortem destinations waiting for us at the end of the line. They are immediate, tangible, present tense states of being.
Right here, right now.
Exactly. Okay, let's unpack this because on the surface, this is a very brief essay. You could read it over a cup of coffee.
Oh, easily.
But the claims it's making about human behavior, ego, and, the architecture of suffering are dense.
Yeah, they really are. I mean, within those few paragraphs, the author is packing in a comprehensive framework about human motivation.
Yeah.
And the compounding consequences of our daily mindset.
Right.
It challenges the reader to completely rethink the geography of their own suffering and happiness. The essay argues that we are actively generating our afterlife through our current psychological habits.
Which is a heavy thought. So let's get right into that geography because Huafeng's opening argument lays it out without any ambiguity.
None at all.
The text says, quote, heaven is not unattainable. It rests within our grasp. And then it explicitly defines the coordinates.
Right. It maps them out.
Yeah. Hell is defined as living in worry, pain, anxiety, sorrow, and fear. Conversely, heaven is defined as a life filled with happiness, joy, freedom, bliss, and contentment.
It's very straightforward.
It is. Instead of viewing heaven and hell as physical locations, with clouds and pearly gates versus fire and brimstone, the text is asking us to view them as emotional zip codes that we are currently inhabiting.
I love that phrasing, emotional zip codes.
Right. But by framing heaven as an option we can just choose, doesn't the author place a massive amount of, radical responsibility directly on the individual?
Oh, absolutely.
It's pretty confronting to be told your anxiety is a hell of your own choosing.
It is. And, what's fascinating here is how effectively the text strips away the mystical external elements of these realms.
Yeah, taking the magic out of it.
Exactly. But it goes further than that, actually. It strips away our favorite safety net, which is passive victimhood.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
When the author asks the reader, why choose to live in hell when heaven is an option, he is really challenging you to view your own suffering not as a given circumstance.
Not as something that just happened to you.
Right, not as something inflicted upon you by the world. It frames suffering as an active participation.
It's the ultimate loss of a scapegoat. You can't blame your boss or the economy or bad luck for putting you in hell.
Nope.
You are choosing to set up camp in that emotional zip code based on your reaction to those external pressures.
Exactly. By removing the concept of an external judge or a punishing deity from the equation, the text forces the reader to look inward.
It's all on you.
It is.
Big.
If hell is just worry, pain, and fear, and heaven is joy and contentment, then waiting for your physical body to expire to experience them is logically absurd.
Because you're already doing it.
You are generating that environment right now.
So if we accept that hell is a state of active friction rather than a passive punishment, it kind of forces us to look at the tools we are using to build that friction.
We use a lot of tools.
We do. And Zuyeveng actually gives us an inventory of these tools. He details a very specific list of behaviors, which the text calls a one-way ticket to hell.
Yeah, that list. It really functions as a diagnostic manual for human misery.
That's a great way to put it.
It catalogs the specific psychological habits that manufacture the worry, the pain, and the fear we just identified as the hallmarks of hell.
Okay, so let's go through it. It starts with chasing wealth, power, fame, profit, and desire,
The big ones.
the big ones. Then it gets even more specific to our daily attitudes, like constantly believing you are right and others are wrong.
Which we all do.
Constantly. Also grumbling incessantly, finding fault with everything around you.
Oh, yeah.
And then it hits what might be the heaviest one, being perched on a moral high ground, preaching goodness while failing to practice it yourself, effectively living a double life.
It's so thorough. The essay really covers a wide spectrum there, moving from grand societal ambitions right down to petty interpersonal complaints.
It leaves no stone unturned.
Right, but they all share a common mechanical function in the human mind.
Okay, I have to challenge this though,
Go for it.
because looking at that first point, chasing wealth, power, profit, and desire, we need resources to survive.
Of course.
Like, I need to pay rent, I need to buy food. How does simply wanting to be financially secure or, wanting to achieve a career goal equate to buying a one-way ticket to hell?
That's a very fair point.
It just feels extreme to suggest that basic ambition or the desire to improve your standing is a damnation mechanism. Are we supposed to just sit still and want nothing?
Well, the text draws a crucial line between the functional acquisition of resources and the psychological state of chasing.
Okay.
The text boils the essence of hell down to two core traits, which are selfishness and stubbornness.
Selfishness and stubbornness, got it.
Right. It is not the mere existence of resources or the act of working that creates hell. The operative mechanism is the chase.
But even wanting a promotion or wanting to launch a successful business, how is that functionally different from chasing? Like, at what point does ambition cross the line into this hellish territory the author is describing?
Consider the underlying engine that's driving the pursuit. Ambition, in the way the text critiques it, isn't described as an engine driving you forward.
Okay, then what is it?
It's described as a leak in your gas tank.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, the psychological state of constantly chasing fame or profit inherently implies that you do not have enough right now. It creates a permanent baseline state of lack. When your identity is tied to the chase, you are living in a constant state of anxiety that you won't get what you want, combined with the fear of losing what you already have.
Okay, that makes sense. So the focus isn't on the money or the status itself, but on the anxiety generated by the relentless pursuit of it. The chase traps you in the exact emotional state, the fear and sorrow, that the text explicitly defines as hell.
Yes, and that same mechanical friction applies to the other behaviors on the list, too.
Like the complaining.
Right. Take the stubbornness of finding fault or believing you are always right. When a person demands that the world and everyone in it conform perfectly to their expectations, they are constantly colliding with reality.
Because reality doesn't care about your expectation.
Exactly. Reality will never perfectly match our demands. Therefore, the person who must always be right is in a perpetual state of agitation.
They're just constantly frustrated.
Right. They're fighting a war they cannot win against the nature of other people.
And that constant agitation is the heat of the fire. They are stoking it themselves every time they grumble about the weather or traffic or a coworker.
Yes.
But what about the final point on that list? The moral high ground and living a double life. How does that fit into this framework of friction?
That points to perhaps the most psychologically demanding state of all. Living a double life, preaching one set of values publicly while behaving entirely differently in private, it requires immense cognitive effort.
I can imagine.
We call it cognitive dissonance in psychology, but here the text frames it as a spiritual burden.
Right.
Maintaining a facade requires you to constantly monitor your behavior, manage the underlying fear of being exposed, and suppress the inherent guilt.
It sounds exhausting. You are essentially managing two opposing identities. The friction isn't just between you and the outside world anymore. The friction is entirely internal.
Exactly. And that internal war is the very essence of the hell experience Swifting is describing.
Wow.
You are burning up your own peace of mind from the inside out simply to protect an ego-driven image. The ego is really the common denominator across all these behaviors.
The ego? Always the ego.
Always. The ego wants the power, the ego needs to be right, and the ego demands the moral high ground.
So the ego, with its constant grasping and its need for validation, is the architect of this hellish zip code.
Nicely put.
Thanks. Which brings us to the antidote. If we are stuck in this anxious, friction-filled state, how do we relocate?
Right. How do we get to heaven?
The text's answer to this is surprisingly simple, at least in its phrasing. It says, quote, "Embrace selflessness and let go of ego, and you will find yourself in heaven at every moment.
Yeah, phrasing it is simple, but dismantling the ego is famously one of the most difficult psychological tasks a human can undertake.
Seriously.
Abandoning the need to be right or giving up the chase for status requires overriding our deepest survival instincts and our societal conditioning.
True. But the author, Sefeng, doesn't just leave it as abstract, difficult advice, though. He issues a direct challenge to the listener.
He really throws down the gauntlet.
He does. He basically says, give my path a try. See if it works.
Hmm.
He explicitly gives the reader permission to call him a charlatan if the method fails.
Very confident.
But, he adds, if it works, you might find him to be a truthful soul. And to back up this extreme confidence, the essay offers actual, tangible proof.
The introduction of this proof represents a significant structural shift in the essay.
How so?
It moves from philosophical theory to an empirical claim.
Right, because usually in philosophy, the proof offered is just another thought experiment or logical deduction.
Yeah, just more words.
Exactly. But here, the text points to a specific, named group of people. It says, quote, ask those who dwell in the second home established by Lifechanyuan, known as the Chanyuan Celestials. Most will affirm they live in heaven.
Very specific.
It's highly unusual for a short philosophical text to say, hey, don't believe my theory. Go look at these specific people over in this specific community. They are living it.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, we can really analyze the author's underlying rhetorical strategy here.
Okay, break that down for me.
By pointing to the Chanyuan Celestials residing in a second home created by Lifechanyuan, the author is attempting to ground the spiritual in the empirical. The phrase second home implies a deliberate departure from the primary traditional structures of society, which are the very structures that the text argues breed the endless chase for wealth and status.
Ah, so he is claiming that there is a physical community that functions as a lived-in clinical trial for selflessness.
Exactly.
He's saying he has the data to back up the philosophy.
He is. The author is staking his entire philosophical framework and literally risking the label of charlatan on the claim that this specific community has successfully dismantled the ego and, as a result, experiences the heaven he defines.
That's a huge claim.
It is. Now, as readers analyzing this text, it is crucial that we view this impartially.
Right, absolutely.
We aren't here to verify, endorse, or investigate the specific practices of Lifechanyuan, but analytically, the text's reliance on this group reveals a core tenet of the author's belief system.
Which is?
That letting go of the ego is not just a nice abstract idea. It is a replicable, measurable methodology.
It takes the lofty concept of enlightenment out of the clouds and insists it can be practically applied and observed right on the ground.
Yes.
The text forces the reader to consider that heaven might be a communal achievement as much as an individual one, provided the community is built on selflessness.
That's a really interesting point.
But just as we get comfortable with this grounded, present-tense view of heaven and hell, the final section of the essay introduces a massive twist.
It really does. The essay deliberately waits until the final paragraph to pivot.
Yeah, it sneaks it in there.
Up until this point, the entire focus has been on the immediate moment. You know, the anxiety you feel today, the joy you can access right now.
But here's where it gets really interesting. The text moves from the present moment and introduces a concept it calls biological inheritance, or more specifically, life inheritance. And it actually capitalizes the word life.
That capitalization is important.
Right. It outlines a strict mechanical rule. Quote, live in heaven now, and after a lifetime you will find your place in heaven. Live in hell now, and you will descend into hell thereafter.
It's very absolute.
So how does this work? Does this mean the afterlife is just a direct continuation of whatever emotional habits we cultivated while we were alive?
This raises an important question about the mechanics of existence within Sufeng's framework.
Let's hear it.
The capitalization of the word life is the key here. It denotes that the author is not just talking about the biological span of a human body from birth to death.
Right, it's bigger than that.
He is treating life as a distinct, enduring, non-physical structure, like an energy or a consciousness that operates under strict, observable laws, much like physics or genetics.
Oh, I see. So it's almost like a form of spiritual genetics.
That is the exact mechanism the text implies.
Yeah.
Think about how biological inheritance works. Physical traits like eye color, height, predispositions to certain conditions, they are coded into DNA and passed down. The text synthesizes this biological logic with spiritual continuity,
Yeah.
Your life traits, your deeply ingrained emotional and spiritual dispositions are the DNA of your consciousness.
Wow. So if you spend decades cultivating selfishness, anxiety, the need to always be right, and, the habit of grumbling,
Yeah.
you are effectively writing the genetic code for a hellish consciousness.
You are. And the consequences are terrifyingly logical within this framework.
I can imagine.
When the physical lifetime ends, there is no external deity weighing your good deeds against your bad deeds on a cosmic scale.
So no big trial.
There is no judgment trial.
Yeah.
You simply inherit the exact state of being you have meticulously constructed. The consciousness continues along its established trajectory.
You literally inherit yourself.
Yes.
That is profound.
Yeah.
If you've spent 70 years building an engine that runs purely on friction and anxiety, that engine doesn't suddenly start producing peace and bliss just because the physical body stops functioning.
It can.
It keeps running on friction.
Exactly. The momentum carries forward. Conversely, if you have practiced living in the heaven of selflessness, contentment, and joy, that is the frequency your consciousness inherits and perpetuates.
It's so mechanical.
It is. The text implies a universe that is entirely neutral and mechanical in its spiritual justice. You get what you build.
This perfectly contextualizes the essay's concluding line. It says, "Our future lies squarely in our own hands." It brings the entire argument full circle.
It really ties it all together.
The radical responsibility we discussed at the beginning, the idea that you choose your emotional zip code today, turns out to be the exact same mechanism that determines your ultimate destiny.
It forces a constant, rigorous mindfulness.
For sure.
Under this philosophy, a petty argument, a moment of deep ego, or a day spent obsessing over status isn't just a fleeting bad mood.
What is it then?
It is a building block. You are actively laying the bricks for the permanent architecture of your future reality.
Man. So what does this all mean? We started this deep dive by asking you to check your emotional state, to see whether you are currently residing in the anxiety of hell or the contentment of heaven.
Right.
Shuefeng's text flips the traditional script entirely. Heaven and hell aren't waiting to ambush us at the end of our lives like some grand cosmic surprise party.
No surprise parties here.
Nope. They are the emotions we are actively cultivating today through our selfishness or our selflessness, compounding daily into our ultimate life inheritance.
The text really demands that we stop viewing the present moment as merely a waiting room for the afterlife
Yeah.
and start recognizing it as the factory where the afterlife is actively manufactured.
That is a perfect way to put it. I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over on your own based on the strict logic of this life inheritance.
Let's hear it.
If our daily emotional reactions are literally writing the spiritual genetic code for our future, are we unwittingly practicing for the exact afterlife we are hoping to avoid? Every single time we hold onto a petty grudge, obsess over a title, or complain about our day.
It is a framework that will certainly change the way you view your next frustrating encounter.
It really reframes the stakes of a bad mood. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Keep questioning the mechanics of your own mindset, keep exploring the ideas we unpacked today, and we'll catch you next time.